Hey, welcome into Carpooling with Ben, folks. Virtual editions as we go. Today's guest, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, she's accomplished so much. She's a writer. She actually co-authored a book that Oprah approved or did something really like special with. I mean, if it's got the name Oprah with it, then need I say more? All of this, and she's only 21 years old, ladies and gentlemen. Kara Baskin joins me. Kara, how are you?
I'm a lot older than 21. Other than that, I'm fine.
Well, that'll be our secret. Don't worry. We're doing this via Skype. We can put filters. So no.
Yeah, you believe whatever you like.
That's right. Thank you. No, you are a writer for the Boston Globe. You do a bunch of stuff. You do like food, lifestyle, culture, and you've actually created a column in The Family Way. Talk to me about this.
So we launched a parenting column in September, knowing that we had a captive audience of parents who had been dealing with COVID since March, right? And we're dealing with kids going back to school, hybrid versus remote, going back into sports, wrestling with how to keep, their family running and keeping everybody happy and healthy and sane. And so we launched In the Family Way in September. It comes out every week, and it is a column and a newsletter. So people get it on Thursdays in their inbox at 8 o'clock on Thursday night. And then on Friday, we do excerpts online and in print with a lot of really helpful topics and advice for parents and families.
So what are some of the topics that you've covered?
Oh my, drinking. That was a big hot button issue. People who were either deciding to cut back or had maybe found that they were drinking a little bit more than they perhaps used to pre-pandemic, and how to navigate that, how to co-parent in a pandemic if you're, dealing with a divorce or a separation, if you're living in two different households and dealing with, maybe your ex-partner doesn't like masks and you're very stealthy and strong about keeping things hygienic and safe, how to navigate those relationships. We just did a big piece with a few top medical experts about how to have a healthy and safe Thanksgiving. So really, all the stuff that parents are thinking about right now, hopefully we have some answers. We try.
I'm sure, I know it's been well received. Do you get a sense of, in a world of data and analytics, do you get a sense of what topic or what kind of range has been probably the most looked at or the most read part of that column, or what's gotten the most response?
We have our ways of tracking that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hey, if Amazon knows what I'm thinking, that I need to buy a new vacuum cleaner, I'm pretty sure that all the fine folks at the Boston Globe know exactly what's being read.
We do a good job of tracking that, but also just I get a lot of anecdotal stuff. I get a lot of emails from readers and comments and people who find me on Twitter and Facebook and just want to vent. It's like being a therapist. I get all sorts of messages from people who either pitch me ideas or just kind of want to talk and share their stories.
Do we need to talk to the powers that be at the Boston Globe about getting you a therapist pay raise or something? That would be, come on now.
Throw a PhD onto my title. That's fine. No, but it's something that I think people find it cathartic. They want to share their experiences, especially when it's so isolating right now and people are sort of alone in their bubbles. So it's a good outlet, I think, for people.
Now, you began your career in Washington, D.C. For NBC National News. So you've worked in a variety of media platforms and obviously now in print and everything. Kind of, how would you sum up your career and your experiences so far in 5 words or more?
In 5 words? Wow, they didn't prep me for this.
Well,
Trying to be open and honest.
Okay.
Really, telling the unvarnished truth about people's lives and making people feel less alone. Mm-hmm. I think especially right now, especially with families, right? You have social media, you have Instagram, you have this whole veneer of perfection and this veneer of having it all together. And in the era of COVID, nobody has it all together. And It's important to remember that. And I think the parenting newsletter is really helping people, grapple with stuff that perhaps they wouldn't be as open about. So in a way, it's a silver lining. People are coming to terms with stuff.
If I could ask you a question kind of career related,
Sure.
Obviously this has challenged a lot of people in new and different ways, doing things like we're doing now with Skype and Zoom.
Right.
For young people who are coming up through perhaps high school and college, maybe they're experiencing this interruption in traditional or what has been a normal education cycle, people who are looking to do kind of what you do, those young writers, those young authors, or those young up-and-coming news folks, what advice do you give them as an experienced industry veteran as they go through this time, and how can they really start sharpening and honing their skills when, let's face it, you might not have the internship in a newsroom or at an organization, as it traditionally
Yeah.
would be.
Well, there's two things. So the first thing, and this isn't me saying it's Nora Ephron, the famous writer who passed away a few years ago. She wrote the novel Heartburn about her own life being married to Carl Bernstein. She was the screenwriter for Sleepless in Seattle and a lot of other great movies. Great writer. And she said everything is copy. Everything. So every single experience you go through is copy. So, I mean, in a way, high school and college students have this great advantage of living through a completely unusual time that might seem hard now, but it will be fodder down the line for so many different stories and so many different experiences that they can translate into something perhaps meaningful creatively for their career. I think that a lot of people, when you go through hardship, it can actually be great for you creatively. So there's that. But then just from a practical standpoint, I think that people are learning to work in new ways. Everybody's working remotely. Journalism in some ways has really never been busier. I've never had more to write about than now. So I think that there's actually, the opportunities might look different, the logistics might be different, but I don't think that this is a dead end at all. I think that it's actually a great opportunity for people. And honestly, some of the most successful media people I know are successful because of like Instagram and Twitter, and you can do that from your bedroom. I mean, you do not need to be in a newsroom, your bedroom.
Influencers, as it were.
Influencers,
Yes.
right. So, it looks different. The landscape is different. I mean, there's nothing like being in a newsroom, but it's not the be all and end all if you're looking, to boost your career. So all is not lost for these young people today.
Sure. You talked earlier in this interview about people have been writing to you and expressing their frustrations, their feelings.
Yeah.
Is there one message or one person, not that you're going to identify them specifically, but is there one message or that you've gotten that just really hit you like a brick wall, required the tissues? I mean, it was worse than a This Is Us episode. I mean, something that really, and it made you realize how much of a difference that you're making in people's lives.
Well, there's a few people who have talked a lot. I did a piece about grief and gratitude and how it's okay to grieve for what we've lost right now. And a lot of people were very moved by that because they just hadn't maybe thought about grieving for what, the everyday rhythms of life, like picking up your kids at school, right? Or going to soccer practice, these little everyday things that we took for granted. A lot of people really responded to that and wrote to me about that. But there was one note from a woman who was talking about how isolated she'd been and how she doesn't know, and I want to tackle this in an upcoming column. I haven't written about it yet. But friendships, right? And how isolating it is if you don't already have that like core group or that core pod, everybody's podding and like pairing off with their safe bubble. If you don't have that, and she was saying how embarrassing it is as an adult to feel like a 6-year-old who's looking for friends on the playground.
Wow.
And she doesn't know how to deal with that. And I was like, that's a real thing. And as adults, there's like a stigma about talking about being lonely and about, making friends as an adult. So that was a topic that I thought, okay, I want to write more about this. I think this is something that maybe people are going through but are afraid to say, right? Because you see the photos of people doing their Zoom happy hours, or you see the photos of people getting together in their backyard fire pits. And it's like, well, what if you don't have that support system for whatever reason?
Yeah.
How are you doing right now?
No, that's a very good point.
That stuck out at me. Yeah.
I find that so, like, that even hits me, a grown adult making that comparison, being 6 years old. First day at school, who's going to be my friend? There are a lot of people that, they're used to communicating with people either at the senior center or the grocery store or whatever. And
Right.
I remember at the beginning of the pandemic, local grocers are out here, a buddy of mine who manages a store here, he said, I have to tell people, look, this is not a social place. Like, I can only let so many people in at a time. And he was heartbroken because he's there literally telling these older folks or these people who are retired, saying, look, I'm sorry, this is you can't do this right now. And the look on their faces, they feel like, they just feel lost. So I totally appreciate everything that you're doing with with the column, In the Family Way in the Boston Globe. Folks, go subscribe, go follow.
Yes.
Go follow
BostonGlobe.com/parenting newsletter.
I'm going to put that in magical type, like down here somewhere, so it pops up magically. You worked for NBC News. You know so much more about this than I do. Why me? No, but it's
I got into print for a reason.
That's right. Folks, go read all the past columns, catch up, and maybe this will be great reading as we go through the holidays and these next couple weeks and months here. Kara, thank you so much. I wish you all the health and safety in the world, and you keep yourself going there. And
thanks for thinking I was 21. I'm going to have a great day now, believing that I just turned 21.
Guess what? As far as my audience is concerned, that's the way it stands, because that's
there
it.
We go.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much. Follow her, share this episode, and subscribe.